Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have the 5-string Ibanez bass guitar back on the bench. We got the parts that we were waiting on to re-solder in a new 9-volt battery connector. The old one was wonky, and that was the main customer concern, so we're going to jump into that right now. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We want to fix your guitar, so let's get to work. So what we have here, I have already prepped and cut my connector to length. I am in the process of trimming off the ends, and we're going to tin those. I have the solder iron up and running, and I even put some shrink wrap already down here on the other leads. So the first thing I want to do is get these stripped, ready to tin. We're going to twist them lightly. I don't know if I'm in the movie. Let's get in the movie so you can see everything that's going on here. We're going to twist them slightly. We're going to tin both ends here on the new connector. We're going to strip and tin both ends on the connector coming out of the guitar. Very small, meticulous work, not fun, and things don't always go to plan, but we're going to hope for the best. So red to red, black to black. This is about as easy a solder job as you can get in a guitar cavity. And we're not even really in the guitar cavity. We are in the battery cavity. So, slightly twist. Now, when I say, what does tinning mean? Tinning means, and we're also trying to protect the paint, always. And, yeah, it's never super easy. Tinning means that you're going to tin the end of not only the solder iron, but you're going to tin each connection. And tinning means that you're going to put a small amount of solder on there before you try to connect them together. Again, very small, very meticulous work. The first step is a little bit of solder on the end of your iron. And of course, you see, it's always something. There's a knot in there that doesn't want to come out. Okay, make sure you got enough solder pulled out of your thing. Sometimes they're in a roll like this. I just happen to be using this kind. It's core. It's for electrical, small electrical type work. Make sure you have enough set out. So first thing, solder iron is hot. We're going to tin the end of that. And then we're going to tin the end of, hopefully my head is not all the way in there. We are going to tin the end of the wire. And just like that, the wire is tinned on that side. A little bit of a glob on there, but that's okay. And then we're going to tin this side. The idea is that you want to heat up the wire slightly, put the solder on the wire, not on the iron. And it will automatically tin the wire. When you heat up the item that you're trying to solder, don't put the solder on the iron. Put it on the item that you're trying to solder. Just like that. And then clean it off. Make sure you're good before you move on to the next step. Now, there's a glob on there that I don't like. Get your solder sucker. Neat little tool. You get it cocked. You heat up the glob of solder that you don't want and suck it out. There was just a little too much on there that I did not want. These are very small wires. And with soldering, it does not take a lot. And there, a little bit of solder that popped out that I don't need. Look, I've been doing this for a long time. This is an art form. It takes a lot of practice to get it right. You are going to screw up a lot of things before you get it right. I'm going to slightly twist these together. One lead first, then the next lead. And it's the same process. Get it up here where it's not going to drip on anything. Get a little bit of solder going here. And you heat up the item that you want to solder, and then touch the solder to the item. And just like that, we soldered that piece together. And they will not come apart unless you cut them. And of course, eyeball your work. Yes, nice, clean little solder. That one's done, and then we're going to eventually pull the. We're going to pull our. I don't know if the camera's going to catch all of that, but you pull your heat shrink over the work that you did, and then hit it with a little bit of flame, and it shrinks right over that joint. So not only is it soldered permanently, it is sealed from the elements, and that shrink wrap will pull right up on there, shrink tubing. So the second one, because I got ahead of myself, I pulled it over here. Let's put these two together. That was red. This is the black lead. Hopefully my head is not covering the entire movie. I would like you to be able to see what I'm doing. Twist them together slightly. Get your solder iron. Heat up your component, your lead, your tab, and then hit it with a little bit of solder. And it will pull itself in. Just like that. And don't keep hitting it, and don't keep putting more and more solder on. It takes so little to hold these wires together. You know, you've heard the saying, the bigger the blob, the better the job. No, less is more. It takes very little to solder these wires together. Once they're together, that's it. They're an electrical connection that will last forever until you cut it. That being said, I am going to have to pause because I did not bring a torch in here, and you just need a little torch or a Bic lighter, and I'm going to demonstrate that momentarily. Stand by. Okay, so we're back. I just had to go get a lighter really quick. I actually have a little tiny torch for this job, but I'm going to show you these. These are the shrink wrap tubes that you put over your solder joint, and all you have to do is heat them up a little bit, and they shrink down like so, and they pull right over your joint. Don't go crazy. They pull up on their own. As soon as you hit them with a little bit of heat, they pull right up onto your joint and cover it and waterproof it, whatever you want to call it. Seal it. Get it right in the middle where your joint is. And that's it. That's all it takes. They're not going anywhere. Those joints are completely finished, soldered, and sealed with shrink wrap. So don't get over aggressive with the flame. There's actually a tool to put hot air on it, which is basically just a hair dryer, and you hit it with hot air and it pulls it up. But once it seals that, it's like putting electrical tape on, but electrical tape has got glue and it gets gooey, and it can compromise your solder joint down the road as time passes by. So let us move things out of the way. I'm going to clean up really quickly. We're going to battery this thing and make sure that our repair is good and figure out a way to get this in there and secure with a new battery that isn't pinching wires or pulling on it. And I'm sure that's what made the old one fail to begin with. So stand by. So we have put our battery in. Now here's what I've never liked about onboard electronics, because you have to have a battery and these little wires have to be down in there, and so does the battery. Now, you see what the problem is? All these wires are sticking up here. What do you do with them? You got to kind of fudge around with it until you get them down in there where they're secure under the battery without bending or pulling or being on the side where they're pinched, and get the whole thing down in the pocket. And you'll know because it won't go in there nice and easy. And this has been the ongoing debate in my world. Why would you want to go through this every time you want to play rock and roll? Down. See, it doesn't want to snap, of course. Doesn't want to close. And an added bonus is from all these shenanigans of changing the battery on a regular basis, eventually this little door is going to snap and break. So, yeah. And that is that. I don't like, it appears as though the new connector is thicker than the old one. Let's see if it wants to go in this way better. You see what you have to go through? And guy's at a gig. He's at a session and the battery goes bad. And the artist is waiting and waiting and waiting for the bass player. So what does he do? He jams it down in there and doesn't pay attention to anything. All he wants to do is get back up and running because his 9-volt battery went bad. Let's see if it goes in that way better. Yeah. Click. Nope. And this is why I hate 9-volt batteries. It might just be too much wire in the cavity. So, well, this is exactly what you want to do at a gig. Yeah, take the other cover off. Never been a proponent of active electronics. That's just me. I'm not saying good or bad, but you see the kind of shenanigans you got to go through. I'm going to try to pull some of that battery lead back into this cavity so it's out of the way. Because just as sure as God made little green apples, trying to cram that in there and force this clasp to catch, something's going to break. And then he'll have a big piece of tape on the back of his guitar, like almost every active guitar has in every gig, everywhere. Because that is ultimately what happens. Very nice. I can see that everything in here is exactly as it was when it left the factory. And actually, the 4-string that we had in the other video, the cousin to this guitar, is exactly the same. Everything in there was perfect. All I did was pull the wires through a little bit to try and get us less stuff in the cavity. And wow, what a pain in the tuchus. Yes, I used a Yiddish word. The battery does not want to go in that way. It does not want to close that way. Is there something down in here that we don't need? Yeah, let's get rid of that because, damn. Yahtzee. That will never survive. It clicked in there, but it's humped up. It's just a bad design. It's just a bad design. I don't like it. All right, I'm going to pause one more time, and I'm going to click this thing over. I'm going to put all these little screws in, and we're going to try it. We're going to hook everything up to an amp, and we've already done all the adjustments from the previous work that we did on this in the previous video. And all I want to do is save a little video time and putting cords together and getting an amp working, so stand by. Okay, we're back. What I'm going to try is to put it into the tuner and see if we're getting a signal. Let me adjust my camera, get everything into the movie. Well, I'm going to come this way and move the camera over. Yeah. We are ready to roll. We should have signal. And we do. B flat. Let's get up to B. Hey, remember we did a full setup on this the other day and everything was flat. That's what we would expect. B as in boy, Edward, Apple. This is a 5-string, so you have the low B. Up to D as in David. We're getting signal. I like that. Because if it's getting signal to the tuner, that means when we plug it into the amp, we should get signal there. Let's give it a shot and see what it sounds like. I love it. One repair done. Again, sorry folks, I'm not a 5-string player. Let's get in the movie. Beautiful. Beautiful. Everything seems to be there. I think we need to get a little spray on his control pots here. His volume and tone pots. They're a little bit of... We're going to spray those before we give them back to him. That's not uncommon. Guitar was really, really dirty. But I'll tell you, this one responded well. This is a nice little guitar. Very powerful. Everything's working. We're going to call it great. I love these EMG pickups. Powerful. See, I understand why onboard electronics and preamps were invented. It just gives you a different tone, it gives you that punch, but I've always found, and it's just me, just my opinion, you could get that out of the amp. If you build your guitar right, or you have the right pickups in it, you can adjust that stuff out of the amp. I'm going to double check. I don't think there's anything else that we had to do on this. We repaired I'm going to spray these with some electrical cleaner. You don't need to see that. You just and it cleans them all up. Or you can just sit there and go like this until this guitar probably hasn't been used a whole bunch recently. And it was really dusty when I got it, but not in gacked up condition like its cousin, the 4-string, that we're going to be doing soon. So I cleaned it, dressed the frets, treated the board. We saved the strings because they're relatively new, and I think they're really nice strings. They sound punchy as hell. We adjusted all the setup on it, which is the string height, the neck relief. I'm going to check all of that again tomorrow before I give it back to my customer. But Yahtzee, this is a win. You know, we got the. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to adjust his pickups here a little bit. Might as well do that while I have you on the video. I know we didn't do that the other day. They're a little close, especially on the low end. But we got everything together on this guitar, and it was not it was not a great big solder job. That was about as easy as a solder job gets. Really close there, almost like it would be touching because the pickup is tilted. That's about the easiest solder job you're ever going to get. But we have more videos coming up of bigger solder jobs. 2 guitars that are going to need complete rewiring from scratch. And those are going to be some fun projects coming up. All right, come up there, you. This is going to be a chore now, of course. You went a little too far, Blackjack. Whether you're active or passive, it doesn't matter. The same rule applies with pickups. You don't want them too close. You don't want them too far away. That one's perfect. No. That one's too far away. You see the tedious stuff us guitar techs go through? Never give up. You're chasing that ultimate tone. I think that one's a little close, but I think we're at the end of its adjustment. Anyway, it's Yahtzee. Blackjack with 396 guitars. Thanks for hanging in there. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. This is a success. 5-string Ibanez bass guitar. Yes, it's an Indonesian guitar, but these were very popular and still are very popular basses. They were built well. These are good instruments. This one is going to go back to the owner. He's going to be super happy to get it back because now it's playing like it's supposed to play and all the electronics work. Barring the 9-volt battery issue that I have, that's my problem, not everybody else's. We'll talk soon. Have a great day.